I can hear a helicopter outside. I don't know if that picks up. There have been choppers in the area, increasingly so, especially in the last 2 days. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RF Fitness Podcast, brought to you by rffitness.net, your source for stuff. I'm not reading the copy today. I am presenting to you now a re-upload of an episode I made last June. You'll be able to hear right away just how, we'll say, excited, neurologically excited, in a state of heightened emotional state that I am at the very beginning of this episode. You might remember, Minnesotans, last June, when some ice guys popped out of the fucking woodwork and just like fucked about for a while in Minneapolis and then got run out of town. The implications of which and the predictions that I extrapolate from them, I think, have run out to be correct for the most part, which I think is interesting because I've been saying stuff like this for my entire life. And for the most part, I've been told that I am being alarmist and reactionary and paranoid. But again, I've been right about all of it. So, and I can say that because it's my podcast. And if you're gonna be a self-aggrandizing paranoid anywhere, I feel like on your own podcast is really the place to do it. So I appreciate your guys' time and attention to this matter. I talk a lot about in this episode the resistance training manual, which is a piece that I started doing basically that week that I originally recorded this episode. I have not really touched it since then as a piece of writing. I do want to finish it and put it out. What I want to be able to do, as I've mentioned many times, is create a tool for my fellow leftists who are maybe not athletically inclined to pick up and use in order to strengthen and empower the resisting bodies. I want you to be able to do the same thing. This is a resource that I want to make available for free or for pay what you want for people on a donation basis or just wherever. The problem I'm running into is I don't know exactly what is needed. So this episode is kind of part actual manual, part manifesto, part prediction, but all action. I recommend listening to it and getting all worked up all over again about where we were last year and reflecting on how that feels in the current time and place we are right now. So, thank you very much again for listening, and without further ado, the re-upload of the Resistance Training Manual. Keep questing. Hey guys, it's Coach Rob here. I'm all fucking fired up today, so let's jump into it. Yesterday morning, that will be June the 3rd, there was a multiple agency raid, quote-unquote raid, done at a pair of South Minneapolis businesses. I think it was Quattro Tacos or Quattro Milpas Tacos. Anyways, so ICE, ATF, FBI, Homeland Security all showed up on the street out of nowhere in full uniforms in a fucking APC, an armored personnel carrier, with full-on automatic weapons. We're talking camo. We're talking full battle rattle, the goggles, the helmets, everything. They just showed up to make trouble. No one actually knows what the fuck they were there for. This has been over 24 hours now, I think. No one still has any answers about what they were actually doing there. They said it was to serve a warrant for like drug trafficking, but apparently no arrests were made. Other people are saying they were there obviously for immigration stuff. They say, no, that's not the case. In which case, what the fuck is ICE doing there? Everyone was there. MPD shows up like at the tail end of things, I guess, to sort of just be like, no, I don't know what to do. And they're sort of bumbling about. And like the people came out of the fucking woodwork. Like I'm talking Minneapolis residents just appeared and just swarmed these fuckers and were throwing bottles and shit at their trucks, and they're tossing cones in the way, and they're getting in the way, and they're getting shoved around. People getting shot at by fucking rubber bullets. People getting tear gassed and pepper sprayed left and right, shoved down by these officers. None of whom have any actual identification on them. No badge numbers, no name tags. Every one of them is in a fucking mask, guys. Wonder why that is. So this is an ongoing story. I obviously don't have all the details. I'm not a journalist. It's not a news podcast, but this is what has me fired up today and all day yesterday, to the point where it's very distracting for me. You can tell by how fast I'm talking how much this is bothering me. So, okay, so one thing, I want to get this off my chest right now. I'm gonna Babe Ruth this. I'm pointing this out to the sky. My tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, which I don't think is that even tinfoil at all, is that this wasn't actually for anything. It was, I think the language I've seen online is a presence patrol. When the power who occupies space sends a patrol out just to show the people who live there, this is what we can do. This is what we have available to us. We can just activate these cells whenever we want. It's a show of force. That's part one of what happened yesterday. Part two is that it's poking the bear. They're kicking the hornet's nest just a little bit to see what will happen, because Minneapolis is a place that has a history of forceful resistance against, we'll say, militarized presence, right? Militarized occupation. We all remember what happened with the BLM protests, with the George Floyd uprisings in 2020. Don't you fucking forget Trump knows what happened there, which is why they're setting this up now. They're poking the bear now to get a gauge to see how hard they need to press on the gas pedal when they eventually completely pardon Derek Chauvin, and they want there to be a presence of violence in the Minneapolis streets. They're coming out here. They're doing auditions for these fucking guys right now so that they can see exactly how much they really need to put forward so that they can, one, instill fear in us right now. Two, when they pardon Derek Chauvin and we have the inevitable riots, that they are better prepared for that, and they can say, look what happened, we knew this would happen. And three, they can use that as an excuse to instill martial law, not just here, but in quote-unquote sanctuary cities all over America. So just a little... I was supposed to talk about personal training stuff at the beginning of my episodes, guys, but I am too fucking fired up. So anyways, yesterday, after all of that, I sat down finally in a bit of hyperfixation, banged out like 80% of my project that I really wanted to get done this week. That is my resistance training booklet, Minimalist Fitness for Everyday Rebels by Coach Rob. I wanted to take this opportunity today to read through it a little bit. This is something that is, it's probably like 85, 90% finished. The last steps is basically just do a lot of number crunching for the actual programming. But I want to read to you what I have so far so that you can get essentially a free look at what it's going to be. Obviously, some things are not set in stone just yet. This will be available when I figure out how. For pay what you want, pay what you can, purchase, you can get it for free. Obviously, if you want to pay $0, that's going to be an option too. And a website somewhere. So, figuring out website shit, that's going to be my hardest part. Okay, so resistance training, minimalist fitness for everyday rebels, page 1, on physical ability. It's a lot of diatribe so far. Okay, so on physical ability. One must cultivate their physical ability to the best of their ability in order to be the most effective part of the resistance possible. Marching for long distances, climbing over barricades, running to and from clashes with hostiles, and generally being able to keep pressure on the enemy and delivering aid to your comrades during an encounter all require physical fitness. Fascists and the conservative right as a whole place great value and emphasis on physical ability. Conventional beauty standards and combat potential are key components in their warped vision of masculinity that pervades their entire worldview. This perversion should not deter leftists from pursuing physical fitness, athletic ability, and might of arms for ourselves. You will need to be able to stand up to forces who are highly motivated, well-trained, well-equipped, and likely in superior physical condition to yourself. You can do your part for the resistance by shrinking those advantages, by becoming strong, fast, and able for our side. Part 2, page 3, concerning ableism. From each according to their ability. This must be the guiding principle in the understanding and application of this manual and the programs held within. This author cannot deny the ableism inherent in the fitness industry and its toxic presence and the assumptions of what quote-unquote health and quote-unquote fitness must look like. One must be cautious in the presumptions that a quote fit body only looks like a tall Caucasian male with tastefully groomed body hair and rippling muscles. Fitness must be considered as the ability to perform a task with proficiency. The task we ask of our bodies here is physical training with the purpose of better fighting an oppressive regime. By hand or by health, your body is a conduit by which the resistance fights back. You must be strong enough to push back, fast enough to run to the fight, resilient enough to endure fatigue in the field, and robust enough to keep illness at bay. The privilege inherent in such tasks and training is recognized by the author. Members of the resistance who cannot participate in these ways can and should still contribute to the cause in their own ways. So I know there's I've seen multiple ongoing conversations in leftist spaces about ableism. And that's the whole, I'm fully not qualified to have that entire conversation. So I'm just not, but I did want to address it early on in my diatribes, like I said. I continue. On minimalism. The focus on minimalism in this program is in service to accessibility. On minimalism. The focus on minimalism in this program is in service to accessibility. You can procure a kettlebell secondhand for a reasonable price. Check your local online marketplaces. You can also substitute with cinder blocks if you have some sturdy gloves for the job. We in the resistance must be competent in creating change in suboptimal circumstances by using creative means. In fitness, that usually means a minimalist approach. Not everyone has access to a fully equipped athletic facility, hours of free time a day, and a fridge full of healthy and appealing foods. This book is not for those of us with so much privilege. We will do more with less. This book will contain sections on the following: exercise selection, standards and goals, internal practices for physical fitness, nutrition fundamentals, principles, and example programming. And this is something that is still very much under construction. We move on to exercise selection. To build a house, one must know the tools they have on hand. These are the movements you'll use to build your corpus resistendi. We have multiple things here. Under kettlebell, we're using the get up, the single arm swing, snatches, clean and press, halos, pullovers, goblet squats. Calisthenic or body weight, we're doing push-ups, burpees, walking lunges, and pull-ups. In cardiovascular, we have steady state runs, interval sprints, and jumping rope. Like I said, very minimal. It's like a total of under 20 possible movements. If you are unfamiliar or trepidatious with any of these movements, YouTube has a wealth of demonstration content. It can be very useful to take a video of yourself doing the exercise so you can see your technique from multiple angles. Effort is the most important factor while training, and safe movement is key for maintaining high effort over the course of your fitness journey. All of this so far has been one page at a time. Well, something I'm really striving for with this manual is to be, like I said, minimalist as possible. I'm trying to pack as much actually actionable like intel into a single page per subject heading basically as I can. So like these, like that's the entire description I have thus far of the movements one will use in this program. It's just a list of what the name is. So there is going to be some legwork, I think. Excuse me. So I think there will have to be some legwork for the reader to go out there and actually like research some of this stuff. Obviously, coaching is available too, but like the point of this particular product is not as a funnel for my coaching services. It's as an accessible tool for people who want to get fit for this express purpose. We move on to standards and goals. Every law enforcement and military branch of service keeps strict physical preparedness standards for their agents. It makes sense that our resistance should maintain an expected level of athletic performance in the field as well. These standards have conveniently been set for us by the agencies we can expect to encounter. The standards of this book and program are based on the PFT standards for FBI special agents. So I went on the FBI's website. A note on that, the FBI special agent training website section of their website is actually pretty good. It's like as far as the fitness advice and the training advice that they give and like what you're training for is really solid, just like very boilerplate physical training stuff. I did link the thing here on my page. Let's see, the physical fitness test. That's at fbijobs.gov/special agents/physical requirements #physical fitness. So there's a lot of actually good stuff on here. They have quick tips. For instance, be consistent, train the entire body, strength train every day, and run aerobic/anaerobic training 3 to 6 days per week. Do not miss training days. Focus on leg day or chest day, strength train for total body every day, and run every day, which I feel like they just told us to run every day, whatever. They have some beginners tips and some experienced lifters tips, which were, not the kind of tips I would necessarily give for people, but that's okay because I'm not training people for FBI jobs. I'm training people for the resistance. Anyways, the scores of our fitness as rebellion standards here, just to kind of what we're shooting for. This isn't like you're out of the club if you can't do it. I just think it's very helpful for a lot of people to have like a numbers goal in mind, a performance-based goal in mind when training, so you can see like, oh, I need to do this. And I've kind of extrapolated these numbers from the FBI stuff. Yeah, okay. So the scores, back to the reading. The scores reflect the men's standards because that is who we most often encounter in the field. And there's four options here. One is the 1 minute continuous sit-ups with a minimum score of 43, a 300-meter sprint with a minimum time, with a maximum time of 49.4 seconds. Untimed continuous push-ups for a score of 40. And a 1.5-mile timed run, we're looking for 11 minutes, 34 seconds or faster. These are all minimums. I can go into greater detail about what those mean. Actually, I can do that right now because I don't want to just read the entire thing. That'll be boring. So the reason to pick these numbers is because for the FBI agent scoring, they do it on sort of a scale of points for male versus female candidates. And you have to get a minimum of 1 point in everything, and you have to accrue a total maximum of, I think it's 12 points. And so the numbers that I've given here, the 43 sit-ups, the 40 push-ups, the 11:34 mile and a half run, those are the scores required for the minimum to get 3 points in each one. So if you did all of those minimums, you would pass. That's a passing grade for the men's standards, because again, I'm not testing. A standard should be a standard. That's my hot take. Whatever. Moving on to the reading. Internal practices. The body follows the brain. When training your corporeal facilities, it is important to also condition the mind. Many of these skills are useful in everyday life and during a wide range of experiences, not just during a training session. And again, I have endeavored to be as concise as possible. Nasal breathing and diaphragm breathing. Inhale through the nose. Your stomach should fill with air and your shoulders should remain still. Exhale slowly with control and intent to relax your entire body. Repeat 3 to 4 times. We're talking about square breathing, triangle breathing, however you want to talk about it. RPE, or the rate of perceived exertion, subjective measurement of intensity, usually taken during a workout. On a scale of 1 to 10, you should aim to float at the 7 or 8 range during training so that you can push to a 9 or 10 range when your situation demands it. RPE is something that I'll use to measure intensity in the forthcoming actual training program itself. Positive thinking, the most important skill in this book. Quote, assume success and act accordingly, end quote. I just think that's hyper important. Otherwise we get lost in hopelessness. And finally, big picture thinking, being mission-minded. Fitness, like rebellion, is a long-term goal. Rest when necessary, accept that setbacks are inevitable, but always strive to move forward towards your end goal. We move on to the only multi-page section thus far, nutrition fundamentals. Your diet should support your goals. Food selection and nutritional access is one of the most privilege-laden subjects in fitness. Nonetheless, we endeavor to cover the basics so that anyone can be armed with knowledge. And what I've done here is basically just define some terms, because you guys know how I love to define a term. First is calories, a unit of energy measurement. A unit of energy measurement. Energy consumed via food is measured in calories, which your body needs. Ideal energy balance is extremely individual, but generally speaking, it is recommended that you not consume fewer than 2,000 calories a day. I have a whole thing about this. You can ask me about it later. Try to get a balance of macronutrients that supports your goals within that calorie budget. So the no fewer than 2,000 calories a day. Obviously, if you're training for weight management, fat loss, that's going to be a little bit different for you. And like I said, the ideal energy balance, calories in, calories out, is extremely individual. But we are assuming that the reader of this manual is or will soon be engaging in very regular, strenuous resistance training. That's the name of the book, resistance training, haha. And because of that, whatever your RMR is, which is rarely, it's never going to be less than 1,200. Basically, your RMR is your resting metabolic rate. That's how many calories your body burns every single day, just keeping the lights on. If you were to lay in bed and be awake and alive all day and do nothing else, that's how much your body burns every day. And that's, again, going to be very individual. Generally, I don't think I've ever seen anyone be lower than 1,200. People are generally like 1,500-ish if you have like any amount of appreciable muscle mass. And that depends a lot on like your sex, age, height, as well as level of athletic conditioning. But if we're doing training beyond that, you obviously need more calories to both fuel and recover from those workouts. Hence, no fewer than 2,000 calories a day. Obviously, with a macronutrient split, which we talk about right now. Back to the reading. Macronutrients, chemical building blocks that food is made out of that your body uses for the most functions. There are 3 primary macronutrients. 1, protein. All tissues in your body are constructed from protein. Of note is that physically active persons need and benefit from increased protein intake. Aim for a minimum of 100 grams per day. That is across the board. That is something I will say to anyone. 2, carbohydrates, your body's preferred fuel. Your muscles run on glucose, which is easily derived from carbohydrates. Your brain runs exclusively on glucose. Without carbs, your muscles and brain will slow down and you will feel bad. Highly processed carbs are often cheap and easy to procure, but come with a high caloric price tag and may not serve your body's needs. So I'm still trying to be kind of balanced in this one. 3, fats, responsible for hormone balance, nutrient shuttling, and cell health. Fats that are liquid at room temp, like fish oil and olive oil, are considered more beneficial. Fats also add flavor to food, but carry the highest calorie per gram balance of the macronutrients. If weight management is part of your plan, it is a good idea to monitor your fats intake. So again, we're kind of getting into that. Whole versus processed food. Highly processed, hyperpalatable foods are often responsible for a caloric overabundance. Whole foods that are closer to their, quote, natural state may require more effort or preparation to consume, but also are considered more beneficial for most health and fitness goals. Whenever possible, it is advised to consume more whole foods. There you have it. 2 pages on basically my entire nutritional philosophy. This manual as an exercise for me as a writer and as a coach has really forced me to have to super boil down to the absolute essentials. The last thing I have here is principles. There are 3 core principles to this program. 1, action. 2, action. 3, action. The first action refers to the action taken by even reading this book. If you are taking the first steps to building a strong and resilient corpus resistendi, that's the Latin for body of resistance, to the benefit of your comrades and the mission. The following action, the second, is the daily goal, what we should seek with frequency and enthusiasm as often as possible. To do something, anything, is greater than to do nothing. Fitness, like all political action, is often mired by all or nothing thinking, to the detriment of both of the thinker's quality of life. The third, action, that third one has an exclamation point. The third, action, is the combination of the first 2 principles. Intention without frequency falls short, while movement without focus is wasted energy. Fitness is often seen as a selfish, vain pursuit, but you are building an asset for the resistance. Your comrades will appreciate it. And the last section I have is the example program, which I don't have written yet. And honestly, even if I did, I would read it to you because that would be extremely boring to go through on an audio format. So that's what I have so far, you guys. Yes, I'm available for coaching. I don't think I need to end it just there yet. I don't know what to say. You know, I go through these phases like so many other people where I'm fired up and then I'm just laid out and I'm fired up again and I'm laid out, and like I added to my Instagram stories or earlier today before I made this recording, even of someone going through and saying, we won't forget, we didn't forget about this, and that she lists these things that the administration has gone through in its inexorable full diaper waddle towards fascism that we are all experiencing in real time. And the list is so long. It's so long. And guys, it's just now June. It hasn't even been an actual full 6 months, let alone a year, let alone 4. We're assuming 4 is the limit, by the way. I'm not making that assumption. I think it's unsafe to make that assumption at this point. So, and there are things on that list I had forgotten about. There's just so much, but that's the point. Chaos and cruelty is the point. It is the aim of this administration to keep us confused, to keep us worried, to keep us scared, to keep us weak, fat, sick, and at home, to keep us buying things, to keep us spending money and stuck in the mines so that we can scrape by in this capitalist hellscape that we have to, but we don't have to. The agents who snatch people off the streets wear masks. Why? Because they're fucking afraid of us. They're scared of us. They should be. They need to be. Ice breaks, you guys. But not by itself. This has been the RF Fitness Podcast. I'm available for online coaching. If it's right for you, head to rffitness.net. That's rffitness.net. Scroll over to the bottom of the page, see what kind of coaching I offer, do the client application, jump in and hit join the party for free, and come scream about this shit with me because, God, my brain is on fire. Our theme music, which I don't think I'll use today, is Funk AF by Everett Allman, distributed by YouTube Studios. Thanks for listening, everyone. And as always, keep questing.